class, Prof. JC here. I want to welcome you to our first video here, the Office Hours podcast, but the first video for this class. And this is going to be a pretty short one, okay? But I at least wanted to do this video so you had an idea about what this is and what this looks like and what the video is. Typically, they're about 15 to 20 minutes long. If I get really excited, about 25 minutes long. And inside the video, I'll put 3 to 5 questions. Sometimes the questions come at the end. Sometimes I stagger the questions inside, okay? Now, I'm going to be transparent with you and say this, that I got all excited and I brought all of my books over for all my classes to do my podcast here in my office here at Point Loma, and I forgot our Difficult Conversations book, and that's what all of our podcasts are going to be about, is that book. And so just because of time constraints and all that, I don't really have, I've got to get it done today or I can't get it done. So here's our podcast today. Next week, we're going to dive into the book for sure, okay? But this week, I'm just going to get a quote. Here's a quote from the book, and this is actually a really great quote, and I was remembering this from times past, and we're just going to focus in on this quote right here. The quote is this: get curious about what you don't know about yourself. Get curious about what you don't know about yourself. I love that quote right there. In all of the classes I do, now this is not one of the 1 unit reflection kind of, integrity, purpose, service classes, right? This is a class where we're learning about communication. But I'll tell you this, it is difficult to have the tougher conversations that we need to have in life if there are things that are going on inside of us that we just don't really understand. So here's the question I want you to answer, okay? It's 2 questions, actually. It's kind of a 2-part. I'd say it's just 2 separate questions. Why is it important for communication, for difficult conversations? Why is it important for you to get curious about what you don't know about yourself? Why is that an important quote for this kind of a class? When you hear that kind of a quote, you maybe think about a different kind of a class, maybe integrity or, I don't know, personal development or something like that. Why is that kind of quote important for communication? That's number 1. And then number 2 is this, okay? And this is, I'm asking you to reflect a little bit. What is something about yourself that would keep you from having difficult conversations? What is something about yourself that would keep you from having difficult conversation? I really want you to think about that, okay? And because I'm asking you to do that, I'm going to be a little bit transparent with you, because this is actually an issue right now. There's a conversation I need to have right now in my life. And that conversation that I need to have is one that I'm trying not to have because of maybe it's a little bit of fear, maybe it's a little bit of nervousness, and when I pull that thread and I figure out why is it that I'm not trying to have that conversation, why don't I want to have that conversation, I'm finding out that one of the things that I wrestle with is a fear of conflict. And if I pull that thread even more, it's, if I'm not careful, I'm wanting people to like me too much, more than I am actually getting the job done. So that fear of conflict, if I go all the way down, now there are other reasons for it. I grew up in a home that we didn't do conflict very well. There was just always this simmering, there were these simmering feelings and emotions, but no one talked about it. Everything was happy, 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 good, good, good. We were that kind of a church family. And so we never talked about it. And so I didn't learn how to do conflict well. But right now, and really the conversation I do have, it's not even a conflict conversation. It's just a conversation to clarify some things between myself and another person. And it's really an important conversation. It's a good conversation, but I also know that it could lead to some tense moments in that clarification process. And so I've been asking myself, why is it that I'm struggling to have that conversation that needs to be had? Because it's going to make me better. It's going to make my team member better. We're all, we'll be able to do things better together if we just have this conversation. And so when we talk about this, for me, when I look at that quote, get curious about what you don't know about yourself. For me, when I have to dive down deep and say, okay, why is it that I'm struggling to have that conversation? That's the thing that I don't know about myself, very well. But that's the thing I need to get better to know about myself, so I can get better at that. So I'm not fearful about having difficult conversations. Okay. So that's me. Now I'd love to hear from you. I just mentioned the questions just a few minutes back there. If you get a chance, listen to those questions, answer those questions, And that'll be our podcast for this week. And next week, we will dive into the book. Come hell or high water, I'll make sure I have that book with me, and we'll start diving into that book. It's a great book, and it's a great reminder for all of us. Hey, thanks so much for listening. I look forward to your responses, and look forward to our next episode together. Hey, take care, everybody. Have a great week. Reach out if you need me.